Semper Fidelis asks, if you own a property that's your primary residence, is it okay to shoot for CNC status? That's currently non-collectible status. Link to my video on CNC status at the top of the screen. If the IRS realizes that you can't pay, wouldn't they simply put a lien on the house? So let's go through this question here. Yes, if you own a property and you can't access the equity in that property doesn't count against you when you go for CNC status. I'm talking about a primary residence here, okay? And this can sometimes the difference between somebody pursuing an offer in compromise and pursuing something like CNC or a partial payment installment agreement that's a PPIA. Because in general, in an offer in compromise, even if you can't take money out of your home, the equity in your home still counts against you and is included in your reasonable collection potential in your offer amount. Now, the standard rule is to, when calculating the equity in your home for purposes of an offer, there's a 20% haircut from the fair market value. But sometimes there's other things that's worth looking at, such as if there's significant repairs that need to be done on the property. If the property has something strange about it that isn't apparent to the offer examiner who's checking the Zestimate online, right? So, but that's kind of getting sidetracked. Bottom line, equity in your home generally counts against you for an offer in compromise, whether or not you can access it. With currently non-collectible status or a PPIA, if you can show to the IRS that you can't access that equity, you can't take money out of your home. Look, I went to this bank. I tried to cash out. I tried to take cash out of my home. They denied me. I went to this bank, tried to do the same thing, tried to get a HELOC, tried to get something, cash out, refi to get money out of my house. I couldn't. They denied me. And here's the denial letters. And look, here's why. Poor credit, debt to income, whatever the issue is, to prove to the IRS that you can't access the equity in your home. If you want a citation for this, you look at section 5.16.1.2.9 of the Internal Revenue Manual. And actually, so 5.6.1 is about currently non-collectible or CNC status. So let me go back to where I was. I'm just going to search hardship. Oh, gosh, sorry. I should have just stayed down there. Here we go. All right, so I'm not going to dig into all this. I've covered a lot of this in my main CNC video. But it talks about equity down here. I changed, there we go. So, right, the collection information, if the taxpayer has equity and assets, the reason collection is not being pursued must be documented in the history, right? So essentially, they need to, whoever's reviewing your case at the IRS, essentially, they need to check a box indicating that, hey, we've addressed the equity in the assets. Yes, taxpayer has this equity in their primary residence. However, it cannot be accessed by the taxpayer. Taxpayer provided this documentation and that documentation proving that. Okay, so your first question, Semper Fidelis, if you own a property, is it okay to shoot for or try to qualify for CNC status? Yes, that is a very common situation, as a matter of fact. Your second question, if the IRS realizes that you can't pay, wouldn't they simply put a lien on the house? Well, first of all, let me say, if the IRS does approve you for CNC status, yes, they're very likely to file a notice of federal tax lien, right? And why do they do this? It's to protect the government's interest. What they don't want is for them to cut you some slack here and put you in CNC. You don't have to make any payments to them. And then the next day, what do? You turn around and you sell your home and take out the hundreds of thousands of dollars of equity that you have? No, they're going to protect their interest. Hey, if we're going to cut you a deal here, put you in CNC, you don't have to pay us anything every month, right? Then we're gonna cover our butts, and we being the IRS in this sentence, by filing a notice of federal tax lien, right? So if you do decide to cash out money by selling your home, we will get ours before you get yours. Does that make sense? It kind of makes sense if you think about it. Same thing with the PPIA. But then, you're asking a slightly different question. If the IRS realizes that you can't pay, wouldn't they simply put a lien on the house? So, the IRS probably knows you have the house. Let me just put that out there. And filing a notice of federal tax lien, it is something of a manual process, right? And so the IRS doesn't just do this for everybody who has tax debt. So simply requesting the CNC likely wouldn't file the filing of a notice of federal tax lien, right? IRS probably already knows you have the house. If they wanted to file a notice of federal tax lien against you without any change in your account status, they probably would have done so already. But getting into CNC status, right? Once you've established that resolution, the tit for tat there is that you will be, the IRS will very likely file a notice of federal tax lien against you. So, but in terms of whether or not you should shoot for CNC or whether or not you qualify for it comprehensively, Semper Fidelis, I can't really speak to that, but I hope that this video helped with those specific questions about getting into CNC status while having a home. One more thing I want to clarify is when the IRS files a notice of federal tax lien, well, let's back up. When you owe the IRS money, when that tax debt is assessed and it hasn't been paid, the IRS at that point, even before it's filed a notice of federal tax lien, already has a right to your assets and income, okay? Excluding amounts that are excluded from levy. So the notice of federal tax lien simply makes that public information for everybody to see, okay, and to be aware of. And when the IRS files a notice of federal tax lien, it isn't filing a lien on specific assets, as though it were a lender or something like that. The notice of federal tax lien is announcing to everybody, hey, we have the right to all of this taxpayers' income and assets, both present and future, until this tax debt indicated on the lien is satisfied. Okay, so it's not like they're placing a lien on specific assets that they become aware of. The notice of federal tax lien is an announcement to the world that they have a claim to all of your stuff. And it's not like they name specific assets in there. So just want to clarify that as well, in case that kind of helps clear your thinking here, Semper Fidelis. All right, folks, that is all I have to say about that. That is a great question. It is good that folks here are thinking about this, because it's important to know the important to know the implications of getting into a resolution like CNC. If you would like to watch my full video on current non-collectible status, you can access that here at the upper left-hand corner of your screen. All my tax relief videos are down here in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. If you'd like to talk to us at Choice Tax Relief about your tax situation, give us a call, 866-8000-TAX. That's 866-8000-829. Or you can visit our website, choicetaxrelief.com. Fill out that form on the homepage, and we will get back to you. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.